Hello, sports fans. It is Tuesday, November the 18th, the year 2014. And as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. College football picks and NFL football picks coming up shortly. Let's quickly touch on the Monday Night Football game from last night, where the Pittsburgh Steelers go into Nashville and beat the Tennessee Titans 27-24. Steelers up to 7-4. Tennessee down to 2-8. This was a very strange game. The Steelers are up 10-0 early in the game. William Gay has the pick six. A terrible pass by Mettenberger, and the Steelers are off and running early in the game. You think the Steelers are going to just blow out Tennessee. Not so fast. Tennessee does a nice job on offense. They're giving Mettenberger all day to throw. The Steeler defense has a ton of injuries. They were getting no pass rush. Tennessee was moving the ball really well in this game. The Steeler offense early in the game was stumbling and bumbling. Steeler offense at home looks unstoppable. On the road, they just don't look like the same offense. You saw that last week in the Meadowlands against the Jets, where the Steelers only scored one touchdown, and that was late in the game. Steelers all sorts of red zone problems as well. And Tennessee actually goes up 24-13 in this game. And you're sitting there going, are the Steelers actually going to lose back-to-back games to the Jets in Tennessee? Are the Steelers going to go into last place? Steelers start to rally, start getting that running game cooking. I thought Bell had a tremendous game for Pittsburgh last night. He had his best game as a Steeler, I think. Then Roethlisberger starts to hit Brown. Steelers start to move the ball. They cut it to 24-20. Then they go up 27-24. And the Steelers hang on and win the game 27-24. Steelers had to have this game. They go to 7-4. They are now a half a game behind Cincinnati for the division lead. They're right there for the wild card. If they would have lost this game, they would have been in last place. Had to have this game. Now, they didn't play great, Pittsburgh. They got to get some of these defensive bodies back on the field. The Steelers have about a half dozen guys out on defense, and key guys, and you saw it last night. It really showed up. Tennessee and Mettenberger had all day to throw. The Steelers had no pass rush. We know the Steelers' corners are not that great, so the Steelers need some healthy bodies back there on defense. They do pull out the win. Not impressive at all, though. I thought Bell was tremendous. Tennessee, they played hard. They played good enough to win, but they fall a little short. It was a classic case of a good team finding a way to win and a bad team finding a way to lose. Steelers get the win in Nashville last night. All right, without further ado, let's get to our college football picks for week number 13. Last week I had my first losing week of the college football season, so I am now 21 games over 500 for the college football season. Still doing really, really well, but I am coming off my first losing week in college football. I'll tell you, as a fan looking at the college football this week, there is not much going on. College Game Day is covering Harvard and Yale. Are you kidding me? College Game Day is up in Massachusetts covering Harvard, Yale. And no disgrace to Harvard, Yale. That's a very big rivalry, very big game, but that's where College Game Day is. There are no big matchups this week. Now, next week you have all the classic rivalry games. This week you have no big games. I mean, you got a couple rivalry games this week like Duke, North Carolina, Cal, Stanford. I mean, you got an SEC game that's decent, Ole Miss, Arkansas. I mean, you got UCLA, USC, which is probably the best game of the weekend, but that's what we're talking about here as a fan. There is nothing going on in college football this weekend. College Game Day covering Harvard and Yale. Very light week as a fan for college football. Remember, the new college football playoff rankings come out tonight as well. All right, without further ado, let's get to my college football picks for week number 13. I got 4 games for you. Like I said, very light week in college football. I got 4 games for you, though. Let's start in Columbus, Ohio, where the Ohio State Buckeyes are minus 34 against the Indiana Hoosiers. Ohio State, of course, 9-1. They're still on the outside looking in as far as that Final Four playoff. They're hanging around. They're probably going to need a little help, but they're getting closer and closer. As far as Indiana, they are a bad team. They are 3-7. They've lost 5 in a row. Ohio State's offense looks unstoppable. They are scoring points left and right. I mean, even in the snow in Minnesota last week, they put up 31, and they actually shot themselves in the foot a couple times. They could have had more points than that. Here's what you need to know about Indiana. They're 3-7, like I said. They've lost 5 in a row. They gave up 45 points last week to Rutgers. They gave up 45 points to Rutgers last week. If you give up 45 points to Rutgers, What are you going to give up to Ohio State on the road? To me, Ohio State should score in the 50s in this game. I think this game is a complete rout. I think this is one of those games that's over by halftime. I see Ohio State winning this game like 56-14, something like that. I think Ohio State buries Indiana. Ohio State, they can't afford any slip-ups. Like I said, they're going to probably need some help to get to that Final Four playoff, but they are hanging around in it. They're on probably the outside looking in right now. They can't afford any slip-ups. They should bury Indiana. Indiana is a bad team. Look for Ohio State to just bomb Indiana in Columbus. That's pick number 1, Ohio State, minus 34 over Indiana in Columbus. Pick number 2, let's go to Waco, Texas, where Baylor is minus 25 against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Baylor is 8-1. They're another one of these teams that's right there for the Final Four playoff. They're right there for the Big 12 title, I should say. Oklahoma State has fallen on hard times. They've lost 4 straight. Look at some of the scores Oklahoma State has lost in the last 4 weeks. They lost 42-9. They lost 34-10. They lost 48-14. And last week they lost to Texas 28-7. So they have not been competitive at all. The coach Gundy is being rumored to be one of the candidates for the Florida job. He may have one foot out the door. I think this is an impossible spot for Oklahoma State. Their defense isn't that great. They're not scoring on offense. Baylor needs the game. They're home. Baylor, can score points in a bundle. I think this is going to be a rout as well. I think Baylor is just going to lay it on Oklahoma State. Baylor should score early. They should score often, and they will cover the 25 at home. Pick number 2, Baylor at home, minus 25 against Oklahoma State. Pick number 3, let's go to Memphis. Yes, I said Memphis, where the Memphis Tigers are minus 18 against the South Florida Bulls. Memphis, in case you haven't been paying attention, is 7-3. They've won 4 straight, and they are going to a bowl for the first time in a long time. I can't remember the last time Memphis was in a bowl game. Memphis, a really nice year, a surprising year. Memphis is usually dreadful in football. 7-3, won 4 straight. South Florida, not a good team. They are 4-6, and last week, South Florida barely beat SMU 14-13 after trailing SMU 13-0 in the fourth quarter, and SMU is probably the worst team in college football. SMU has not won a game this year, and South Florida barely beat them 14-13. Memphis should have no problem with this bad South Florida team. Memphis is a sneaky good team that no one knows about. They score a lot of points. I like what Memphis has done this year. They should cruise in this game. I don't think I've ever taken Memphis, but I'm taking them here. I am taking Memphis minus 18 against South Florida in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. That is pick number 3. And my last pick, pick number 4, let's go to Eugene, Oregon, where the Oregon Ducks are minus 31 against the Colorado Buffaloes. Oregon is 9-1. Right now they are in the Final Four playoff. If they win out, Oregon will make the Final Four playoff. Oregon, after struggling early in the season, has been playing much better. I mean, they got that offensive line healthy. The quarterback can play. They can score a lot of points. They have a great home field advantage. Oregon really looks like they have found their game, really turned the corner after losing that game to Arizona earlier in the year. Oregon looks like a solid team, looks like they are going to be in the Final Four playoff. Colorado is an awful team. They're 2-8. They've lost 6 straight. And if you've lost six straight games, the last place you want to go to is Eugene, Oregon, and face the Ducks. Even though that stadium is one of the smallest stadiums in college football, it's also one of the loudest. The way it's constructed, the noise really holds in there, holds in the middle of the field. It's a very tough place to play. Colorado has no chance in this game. They've lost 6 straight. Make it 7 straight. Oregon can pick their score in this game. I think Oregon's going to score 63 points. That'll be more than enough to cover the 31. I like Oregon to just bomb Colorado. So Oregon minus 31 in Eugene against Colorado is my 4th and final pick. So let's review. I like Ohio State at home minus 34 against Indiana. I like Baylor at home, minus 25 against Oklahoma State. I like Memphis at home, minus 18 against South Florida. And I like Oregon at home, minus 31 against Colorado. I expect a lot of the big teams to just pound the little teams this week in what is an awful week of college football if you're a fan. If UCLA and USC is the big game of the week, we're all in trouble as fans. Like I said, College Game Day covering Harvard and Yale. Very light week for a fan in college football, but next week is probably the best week of the college football season. That Thanksgiving Day weekend, that week is just tremendous college football. You have all the rivalry games, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, the USC, Notre Dame. The list goes on and on and on. It's a great week of college football. Next week, it's a bad week of college football this week. There's no two ways around it. Let's see if I can rebound with my college football picks after having my first losing week of the season last week. All right, without further ado, let's get to my NFL picks for week number 12. Just like college football, I did not have a great week in the NFL. I am now down to 17 games over 500 in the NFL. Still a solid season. Didn't have a great week last week. I'll tell you, last week I should have just took the week off in college football and the NFL. I told you last week when I was making the picks were very difficult to come by, and I should have just taken last week off because it really burned me. I had, a losing week in college football, didn't have a great week in the NFL, so let's see if I can rebound this week. Here are my picks in the NFL, and I found the picks in the NFL this week to be just as hard, so I'm only going to give you 3 games, and I'll touch on the rest of the games for you, but here are my 3 official picks. Let's start in Philadelphia, where the Philadelphia Eagles are -11 against the Tennessee Titans. Philadelphia, of course, got bombed in Green Bay over the weekend. Green Bay just manhandled Philadelphia. Tennessee played good enough to win last night, but still fell short, still lost the game. I don't know if Tennessee can play any better, and the thing is they still lost and they played pretty well. Now they're going on the road, short week, against an angry bunch of Eagles who just got bombed by Green Bay. The Eagles are going to be mad. They're coming home. They can't afford to lose to Tennessee. They're fighting with Dallas for the division. I think Philadelphia is going to have their way here at home. I think Philadelphia rebounds off the loss last week and takes it out on Tennessee. So I like the Eagles to score a bunch of points. Tennessee's defense is not that good. I will take Philadelphia -11 against Tennessee. That is pick number 1. Pick number 2, let's go to Indianapolis, where the Indianapolis Colts are -13.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like Philadelphia, Indianapolis is coming off a bad loss. New England did whatever they wanted against Indianapolis over the weekend. Indianapolis took a beating. New England bombed them in Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis will be mad coming home, and they got the perfect team to take it out on. Jacksonville is not a good team. They've only won 1 game. They're even worse on the road than they are at home. I think Indianapolis is going to respond in a big way. They're usually good off losses. Luck is usually good off losses. I think Indianapolis is going to be way too much for Jacksonville. Way too much for them, especially off a loss. Indianapolis looks like they're a solid playoff team. That division is awful, but they still have, they still want to move up as far as seedings go, so they have to win this game. I think they will win this game. Jacksonville is no threat to Indianapolis. I will take Indianapolis -13.5 against Jacksonville. That's pick number 2. And pick number 3, let's go to San Francisco, where the San Francisco 49ers are -8 against the Washington Redskins. San Francisco's won 2 in a row. Their defense is playing much better. You'd like to see them get better on that offensive line. They're still not firing on all cylinders, but they are playing a bad Washington team here. San Francisco is -8 against Washington. Washington is an awful, awful football team. They lost at home to Tampa Bay last week, 27-7. That is hard to do. Robert Griffin and now the coach Gruden are sniping at each other. There's a lot of friction there. I don't know what... I like Robert Griffin, but, Gruden wants to make him a pocket passer. I don't think Griffin is a pocket passer. Washington's got all sorts of issues all over the field. They're not that good on defense. They're not that good on offense. They just got all sorts of problems. San Francisco should manhandle Washington. They should bully them off the field. San Francisco's defense should really control this game. San Francisco can't afford any slip-ups. Right now, they're on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs. They can't afford to lose to a bad Washington team at home. They won't. They'll manhandle Washington. Pick number 3, San Francisco -8 against Washington in San Francisco. So my 3 picks for the NFL: Philadelphia at home -11 against Tennessee, Indianapolis at home -13.5 against Jacksonville, and San Francisco at home -8 against Washington. I expect a lot of my picks to just bomb the little teams this week in college football and in the NFL. I took a lot of the big favorites this week. I think a lot of the big favorites are going to win. As far as the rest of the NFL, The Thursday night game, Kansas City is at Oakland. You'd expect Kansas City to win that game. I mean, Oakland, it is a big rivalry. Oakland still has no wins this year, so that's your Thursday night game. Atlanta at home against Cleveland. That's a very interesting game. Both teams fighting for playoff position. Of course, Cleveland gets their big receiver back. New England at home against Detroit. Very nice game, one of the must-watch games of the weekend. Green Bay at Minnesota. Big rivalry. You'd expect Green Bay to win that game. Green Bay's been scoring a ton of points. Houston at home against Cincinnati. Very interesting game there. Buffalo at home against the Jets. I mean, Buffalo, I would hope you can handle the Jets. You just blew them out in the Meadowlands a couple weeks ago. Chicago at home against Tampa Bay. That is an awful game. Very interesting game here. Seattle at home against Arizona. That's a big, big game for Seattle. Very big game. Very interesting game. Arizona's getting no respect in that game. What is the spread? 7 points? I mean, Arizona's only lost one game. I know they're playing with their backup quarterback, but no respect for Arizona in that game at all. San Diego at home, -6 against St. Louis. That spread seems a little high to me, considering San Diego hasn't played that well. Denver at home, -7 against Miami. Denver plays a lot different at home than they do on the road. Denver's got a bunch of injuries, though. Miami's defense much improved. Sunday night game, Dallas at the Giants. Listen, the Giants have had a miserable season. You expect Dallas to get through there. And the Monday night game, New Orleans at home against Baltimore. Is New Orleans going to go for the trifecta and lose 3 straight at home? Baltimore's not all that great on the road either. It's a big game for both teams. And, of course, Pittsburgh and Carolina have the week off. So that is your NFL. You got some big games in the NFL. Seattle, Arizona is a big game. Denver, Miami is a big game. New Orleans, Baltimore has playoff implications. So does Atlanta, Cleveland. New England, Detroit is a very, very nice game. So you have some nice games in the NFL. The NFL is better than college football as far as games to watch this week. So that is where you are in your NFL. College basketball, by the way, has gotten underway. I was watching a little bit of the ESPN 24-hour marathon where they have games on 24 hours in a row. You got 2 huge games tonight, Duke, Michigan State, and Kansas, Kentucky from Indianapolis. Might want to check that out. I know it's early in the college basketball season, but you might want to check out those 2 games. I did watch Miami last night go into Florida and beat the Gators. Nice win for Miami. How good of a coach is Larinaga? I watched a couple women's games last night, 2 fabulous women's games. Stanford beat #1 ranked UConn, ended their big winning streak. Stanford has a great program. You know about UConn. I mean, they're the best program in women's college basketball. And I watched Kentucky beat Baylor in women's college basketball as well last night. So there was some decent games in college basketball. I think this afternoon you got a nice game as well. Wichita State and Memphis this afternoon. Like I said, you're in the middle of this 24-hour marathon at ESPN's running. We have games on, every second of the day. So tonight, Duke, Michigan State, and Kansas, Kentucky from Indianapolis if you're looking for some college basketball. As far as the NBA, real quick, as far as teams I've been impressed with and not impressed with, as far as the Eastern Conference in the NBA, I like what Toronto's doing. I like what Washington's doing. I like what Chicago's doing. I like to see Derrick Rose get healthy. Cleveland, look, it's going to take some time for them, especially on the defensive end. They had a bad loss to Denver at home last night. I think Cleveland will get there. It's going to take some time, especially on the defensive end. Indiana's going to have a long year. Once they lost George for the season, they were going to have a long year. The Knicks look like a dreadful team. I don't know how long Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher are going to sit around and watch this mess. And the Philadelphia 76ers look like they're going to have the worst record in basketball again. As far as the West, Memphis is doing a great job early in the season. The problem I have with Memphis is they have a collection of really good players. They have no superstars. It's a superstar league. Usually the NBA champions are the best team with the superstars. A team like Memphis has a collection of good players but no superstar. So I think Memphis will have a good regular season, but I can't see them winning a title, but they are off to a nice start. Houston off to a decent start as well, although Memphis drubbed them last night. Golden State doing a nice job, so is Portland, so is Dallas. Clippers struggling so far, 5-4. They should be better than that. New Orleans and Sacramento look very improved. San Antonio is 5-4, but hey, they'll be there in the end. Oklahoma City obviously needs Durant and Westbrook back healthy. And how bad are the Lakers this year? 1-9. They look like they could be one of the worst teams in basketball. How long is Kobe Bryant going to take this? 1-9. They look like a dreadful team. They, without a doubt, look like one of the worst teams in basketball. Top 5 worst teams, without doubt. Right now, the only team playing worse than the Lakers is probably Philadelphia. So that's kind of where your basketball, very early in the basketball season, though. As far as the NHL, real quick, as far as the Eastern Conference, Montreal doing a nice job. So is Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay doing a nice job. Islanders look much improved this year. As far as the Western Conference, St. Louis, Nashville, Anaheim, Vancouver, they all look pretty good. Vancouver, of course, has Miller as their goaltender now. Calgary looks like they can be improved. And, of course, the Kings, they're going to be there in the end. So that's kind of where you are in the sports world right now. Like I said, the NHL, the NBA, and college basketball just getting going. All sorts of time for that. College football winding down. Believe it or not, we are almost at the end of the college football season. How fast does college football go by? And we're getting down the home stretch in the NFL as well. The NFL will be in the playoffs before you know it. So we're getting down to the home stretch in your football. As you can see, I am still struggling. I have a very, very bad cold. I'll tell you, I never got sick. And then my sister had a couple of kids. Now she has 3 kids, 3 boys. And ever since she had kids, I get sick all the time because the kids go to school, they pick up germs, and they give them right to me. These kids are like little petri dishes. They always, they're always giving germs to each other. And I noticed this, kids don't get as sick as adults do. Kids, even when they're sick, they're still running around and jumping and hopping and skipping. And adults get more sick than the kids do. So I am sick again. Remember, last winter, I think I was sick the whole winter, so I'm off to a bad start this winter as well. Losing my voice as we speak. But I wanted to give you my picks this week for the NFL and the college football. Hopefully I do better this week than I did last week. Oh, also a big fight coming up. Pacquiao and Algieri coming up. Algieri is a local fighter here from New York, and a lot of people I talk to for here in New York think Algieri can beat Pacquiao. I don't see it. The fight's in China. I think Pacquiao is too experienced, especially in big fights. I think Pacquiao will get through this fight. But a lot of people, especially here in New York, are picking Algieri. Listen, it's a nice story. I like Algieri. I just don't think he has the power to deal with Pacquiao. But like I said, a lot of people picking Algieri in the upset there, so you might want to check that fight out as well. That's coming up. So anyway, you guys are all caught up. You guys are all set. You got your college basketball tonight. You always have your NBA and your NHL. And, of course, your college and NFL football will start on Thursday as well. So you guys got a lot to watch this weekend. I will be back with you guys on Monday. We'll recap it all. Hopefully I feel better, and hopefully my voice is better. You guys, thanks for bearing with me the last couple days. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Hope you guys pick some winners. I'll talk to you Monday. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Enjoy the games. Talk to you Monday. Take care.